quick swap token is.
Cool. We're live.
Oh,
good to see everybody.
Yeah, I didn't even post the. Let me see. Post the link on.
Oh, we are.
It's.
Let's see.
All right, let's do this here.
I'm gonna start posting links too.
What are we on? This is what episode 8. That's pretty cool. You know.
Yeah.
This is little
See, I'm not sure if does Twitter embed the video through YouTube links.
You got to share it and then it'll embed. I think.
Okay. All right. Let me do that.
I've had it work on and off where yeah, it'll embed. I know in Telegram it'll embed, but you know, each application's a smidge bit different.
Okay.
I'll get the idea. Sorry guys, I know we're off to a riveting start right now. As everyone sit here and copy and paste the link.
Yeah.
No, I know. I mean, you know, we're not the only ones that have faced this, right? Richard Hart, a lot of his streams, you know, in the past, like, I don't know, a year or so, the first few minutes are him sharing the link. So it's a similar concept.
Yeah, you got to do that just kind of like blank stare, or just like, and then just not move and see if people actually think you can't figure out if you're live or not. Actually,
I know. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Brand.
Oh, no, I've had the same thing happen, you know.
I'm actually surprised you haven't got the link out and off in all the Telegram channels already, Brand.
I just got it in the 2, and then we're gonna do the cross promotions right now.
Disappointed.
Let's see here.
There you go.
All right. So looks like we're good. All right. Let me just tweet Bran here. Okay. All right. So, all right, for real now.
Good to
What's
see
up,
everybody.
guys?
Yeah, see everybody.
Now we can start.
Yeah, so it looks like a lot of the big topics right now, and this will lead into a lot of the stuff that's been going on within the Hex community as well. But it looks like pretty much the main topic of interest across the crypto community is the layer 2 migration for Ethereum. So for anybody that's not familiar with that, optimistic rollups is likely to be the baseline that a lot of DeFi protocols end up using for layer 2 to help with the congestion and the throughput. And there's you can basically get a good idea as to what that development process looks like through like a protocol like Synthetics. I'm not gonna mention anything as far as like, you know, buying certain coins and that stuff. Like ultimately that's pretty much up to you, but they have a full transition that they're working on now, and eventually a lot of the liquidity we see on layer 1 Ethereum for things for a lot of the DeFi space is going to migrate onto layer 2, including things like synthetic assets. So that stuff, I would keep an eye on that during this entire month. Right now, it's mostly just media headlines. But that is going to be a lot of the narratives. Like there was the fee burning that got announced for Ethereum sometime this summer. So it looks like kind of
going to be implemented.
The fee burning, it looks like it's likely to take place sometime this summer. So there's first the protocol upgrade in March that's going to cover Optimism, and then later this summer is when ETH 1559, that's the fee burning, is likely to get rolled out. I think right now the mining community in Ethereum is slowly coming to. They're pushing back, but there's really not much. There's really not much pull that they have at this point because there's already too much agreement amongst the developers and really pretty much like a lot of the community members in Ethereum, which is mostly the holder community. So with those two aligns, there's just not. It is a larger ecosystem within those two versus the mining community. So they'll come to terms with it. It's just the kind of the nature. I think if somebody is mining Ethereum, which it's mostly GPU mining,
yep,
probably their best option is to basically hold the coins at this point, and then they can look into other proof of work algorithms. I think probably the most likely one would be something like Monero. That's mostly CPU mining, so you don't have like ASICs or something like that. But
depending on the card too,
Mhm.
there's some cards that that kind of work better on Monero as well. So there's still a lot of stuff they can mine as far as Monero goes. But yeah, it's I think that's kind of like the next plan for me anyways, is I'm trying to continuously build up my Ethereum bag, because that's the one problem with Hex, right? Like I've had the issue of every time I have Ethereum sitting in my wallet, like I end up wanting to buy more Hex.
Yeah.
And it's like something I've had like try to physically stop myself from doing and not always succeeded. And so I'm really trying to hold back some ETH now, and if that means keeping it in a separate wallet, just because I know once EIP 1559 comes into place, optimistic rollups and all that stuff, like the last little narrative for Ethereum not being as valuable as Bitcoin and store of value and all that stuff kind of goes out the window, right? Because now Ethereum finally introduces scarcity, gets rid of the miners, starts implementing what Hex has been implementing with staking. So like for me, there's no reason that Ethereum doesn't reach the 10K mark this this cycle, probably by the end of the year.
Yeah, what's really interesting is this kind of keys into pretty much like whatever major holdings anybody has in this market in general. So if you're holding Ethereum, Hex, other DeFi coins, the one chart to really pay attention to if you're using something like TradingView, it's called Total 2. And what it is it gives that market cap of everything excluding Bitcoin. And I think there's a solid like 10x multiple within that full chart, which basically combines everything. And again, minus Bitcoin. But that's going to put the entire non-Bitcoin market at a $5 to $6 trillion market cap. And then at that point, it's a question of like how much, because at that point, like pretty much everything market wide is going to be really heavy to push up in price. So I think we have a solid, I want to say 10x, and then not financial advice, by the way. Like if you
hold that in real quick.
Yeah, if you end up basically like whatever it is you're holding, like if you're banking on a certain number to like take profits on or de-risk a position, just be advised that comes with like risk as well, because there's no guarantee in any market cycle. Like when we're talking top targets, like these are mostly just best guesstimates based on what's happened in the past, but the market structure this time around really is not like, even Richard Hart pointed this out on stream. A lot of the old fractals that used to work just don't work anymore. Right. So the setup is different. Like things have so far expanded much faster. And like I know Ben Cohen covers a lot of that stuff too. So things are definitely, things have basically pumped much faster than what's like happened historically. So we could end up having some pretty wild blow off top even this year, where you see like a $10,000 Ethereum, you see basically like a Hex in the like the 10, 20, it's like the numbers there could be pretty mind blowing as to what it could do in less than basically a year. So yeah, the setup is definitely there. It's time at this point.
It's gonna be interesting to see, and I know no one wants to talk about this side of it too, but it's gonna be interesting to see where we go from the top of the bull run as well. Like once we start going to our bear cycle, because I'm curious to see what our new price floors are now that we have these bigger players in the field with like Tesla and Sailor and all these, and who knows what companies we'll have in by the end of the year as well, who will FOMO. And I think DC said that, once Apple gets in, that's when like we've reached that's when we reached the top. Apple getting in is one of your call signs. But it's going to be interesting to see, because obviously these companies are probably going to have stronger hands than your average no coiner FOMOing at the top, which is usually what we see at the end of these bull run cycles. So I'd be curious to see what our new price floor is. Are we looking at it right now in quarter 1, or can we go back lower as time goes on? It's going to be curious to kind of watch, and I'm also obviously going to be very motivated to see what Hex does in bear cycle as well.
Yeah, if I had to guess, like I was kind of Richard mentioned it as well. He's speculating that it's going to perform better than most coins in this market, and to me, it seems like that does make sense, even based off the chart now, because there's already been like a churning of a lot of whales. Well, I shouldn't say, I don't know what the number is, but I'd imagine, because of how long the price has been consolidating for, there's been a lot of wallets that were just emptied out in that process. So that's basically now those sellers have basically exited, and then those coins end up getting, in theory, like over long periods of time, basically what ends up happening is supply tends to get more and more like centralized to the strongest hands over long periods of time, multiple market cycles. And it's all like stuff like that is also better for like price pumping, price appreciation, however you want to call it. Because really what happens is, like, in these market cycles, and you could even use like really a lot of the people streaming today, like you have people make these life-changing gains over like a short period of time. And relatively speaking, like if you use the term like pleb, for example, most of the market on like even crypto Twitter that has even cryptocurrency, let's say even larger than your average person, those people, relatively speaking, are plebs compared to the whales like that exist in really any like financial market, including crypto. So when you have these crazy sell-offs, like that is retail mostly taking profits, and then you enter those bear periods. So it is most definitely going to happen again. There hasn't really been much time for prices to even consolidate at the current levels, aside from like Hex has, that's where Hex is different, is it had that really long consolidation. So in theory, the price floor should be much stronger like during the bear periods. But other coins, like even something like Ethereum, I mean, if that shit goes to like $10,000 this year, dude, everything under it is just air. Like,
all bets off.
Yeah,
it's already kind of performed in the tail end of the bear market, like in 20. Well, it's like December, like when it actually came out, like December, what was it, 2019? Like Ethereum was at what, like $80 to $100. Like that was pretty bear market, and it was the performing that it had then was really cool. And it'll just be really cool to see, like, yeah, how do people hedge their bets and, you know, different asset classes, and if things start to go down, what do they put their money in, you know, what sort of value, things like that.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on the point that Kojav just mentioned about loopring. I think you've used loopring before, right, Wasabi? I've used ZK Swap. I've used Quick Swap more than anything, just because the Hex community is pretty heavily involved in it. And yeah, layer 2 is definitely, I think eventually what the whole trick with layer 2 is, everything's going to be taking place on layer 2 without the plebs or anyone really even knowing about it, right? Like that's where we're slowly shifting to, and all of us that are in right now are starting to dabble in it, and obviously it's amazing. Like so for Quick Swap, it's on the Matic network, and I've used one Matic token, and you can probably get up to close to almost 10,000 transactions with the one. They give you one Matic token to actually start playing around with on layer 2, and you can probably get anywhere between 5,000 and 10,000 transactions within one Matic token right now.
Yeah, and I think what's going to play, at least for Matic, I believe what they're trying to do is, at a certain point, I think they're basically trying to bridge across the different types of rollups. So loopring, it uses one kind of rollup, and then things like Uniswap, like Synthetics, maybe some other DeFi protocols are going to use things like Optimism. So when you're on the same rollup, you can share liquidity. But if you're on different rollups, that's where even Vitalik was. He's been throwing some ideas out there to the ETH researchers. So I think what'll end up playing out there is like a lot of the bridging, and however that ends up working out is probably going to end up in some way getting solved. And it looks like Matic, it looks like they rebranded to Polygon. Maybe one of those possibilities later on. I don't know too much really about the bridging. I really don't. I just know what the main rollups are. But as far as how the bridging is going to work, that's something I haven't really looked too much into. But the ETH researchers and devs are well aware of it, so they're basically figuring out ways. But to start, I don't think the liquidity is even going to be too much of an issue, because there is going to be a migration at least onto like a common roll up. But it for something like Loopring, it looks like that's what's really cool with that one is it basically has like a full blown like Coinbase type interface like on layer 2. And then that could in theory displace something like Coinbase I don't think Coinbase is going to disappear anytime soon, but like if you do kind of some kind of comparison there, the main difference is it's mostly just basically the volume that moves through the exchange. So Loopring has been gaining more attention recently, and that could lead to more volume moving through something like Loopring for anybody that wants like that type of interface.
Yeah, I know Mass Effect was asking for the URL for QuickSwap. So I went ahead and posted a link in there for you about Crypto Coffee.
Okay.
Did a great walkthrough on going through the Matic network and doing going to QuickSwap. And they have a great feature going on right now for liquidity mining. So you can liquidity mine their Quick token. And I don't even think you have to do everything that Crypto Coffee had to do in his video, because if you have a MetaMask wallet, so features like MetaMask have already made it more simple to actually just hop over to the Matic network with just a click of the button. Like before, you actually had to type everything out. It was kind of a pain in the butt, but now they made a lot more streamlined, where you can literally just click back and forth between different networks within the MetaMask AI, which is very nice.
Interesting. Yeah. I guess have either of you guys on stream bought like even just like bought something like bot hacks on like layer 2 or tried out, like, because I guess
I have.
It's not okay.
Not on stream, but I've gotten in and out of Hex, other tokens just to mess around with the swapping feature, which is amazing. I'd say the only problem is you have to transact to put your funds onto layer 2, and then you have to transact to bring them out. There's some ways to get around it. So if they're offering a couple of services where you can actually purchase your tokens and they automatically go on to layer 2. So you're only paying an extraction fee if you want to bring it back out to layer 1. So that cuts down on your costs, and you can do multiple trades if that's what you're into. You can do multiple trades on layer 2, then come out. So that saves you a little bit there as well. And even going in, I found the fees to still be less than the average gas fees usually that you would on layer 1 anyways. So overall, if you're doing multiple exchanges, it's definitely beneficial to send it on to layer 2, do what you have to do, and then eventually bring it back out.
Yeah, because I know Coinbase, they have a Coinbase wallet. So I guess they hire developers to develop like a Coinbase branded cryptocurrency wallet, and they're definitely in the mix as far as the whole optimistic roll-up side on Ethereum. So there was a comment I was reading from, I don't have the link, but it is somewhere in the ETH research forum. One of the intentions is for really big exchanges like Coinbase to offer withdrawals directly onto layer 2. So it is actually like a feasible, like it really is that at some later point in time, most of the value transfer on Ethereum could actually be happening through layer 2. And it's like,
I think that's the transition we see later on, is everything will be taking place on layer 2 without you guys knowing the new no coiners coming on board. It'll be seamless, where when they're actually getting in from Coinbase, getting in from Gemini, everything's actually going straight to layer 2, and you won't even realize that you're on layer 2 from the start.
Yeah.
And then that hopefully clears up some of the congestion on layer 1 as well. So like for projects like Hex or anything else that's locked onto layer 1, that's eventually going to help free up the space and network for like staking and unstaking, a lot of stuff that we're honestly running into issues now, having to wait for good optimal times to unstake, to stake, all that kind of stuff. We should see more and more of the network kind of get freed up. And I think we have already. Like, it's kind of crazy to say, like, I've seen gas fees going lower and lower, but we're still paying like $20-$30 a transaction, but as opposed to what we had been seeing, it's just been absolutely ridiculous. So it's good to see it's coming down.
I think it's awesome to see, layer 2 transactions happening and things like that, because it just goes to show you that things like Ethereum are constantly implementing, right? The EIP 1559, like you guys mentioned. I mean, even when you just compare like Ethereum to Bitcoin, there's always those arguments, and I'm not going to make that now, but it's just really cool to see that Ethereum is working on, lowering the gas fees and things like that.
Yeah, I think the whole like the narratives because what a lot of people don't really consider is the gas fees are high because people use Ethereum. Like that's kind of the reality of the situation. There's a lot of demand for the block space, and
welcome to the bull run.
Yeah, welcome to the bull run. This is just how these networks work. Like there's intense demand to use a lot of the tools that are available on Ethereum. So the layer 2 is at least going to help out like anybody that has that's buying coins today, because they're not going to be able to like purchase as much as somebody that bought like in the depths of the bear market. So a lot of those issues are going to get resolved, but these types of there's always this narrative that gas fees are going to kill like network. Like this is the same narrative I saw last cycle with Bitcoin, and it's totally false, because the network that exists around Ethereum already has so much economic mass built around it that it's highly unlikely you just see that completely dissipate and go into like some other network, because Ethereum already has like a lot of infrastructure built up with DeFi. A lot of the amazing tools in this space are like they're the most liquid right now through things like Ethereum, and plus they also have a huge step on things like layer 2, so they're kind of a step ahead, as opposed to like even something like you've seen recently with like Binance Chain. Like that's more of a gap filler that plays out in a lot of these bull market cycles, but something like that is just I'm just going to say it now, like you have it on stream. Binance Chain literally has 0% chance long-term versus Ethereum. No chance at all.
It's a filler. Yeah. It's literally a filler for the short term. And then I see it going the way of the dodo and just disappearing altogether.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's already enough information in this market that clones simply just don't do well, and that's really what Binance Chain is. It's a centralized version of Ethereum.
Uniswap, right?
Yeah, well, and Uniswap. Yeah, yeah. Actually, yeah, a lot of the tools that get built up. So there's already too much brain power around Ethereum. So that's really not going to change, but. Yeah, you're like pretty much your options at that point. It's the layer 2, and then at a certain point you'll be using that, and then you won't really even be aware of like a lot of the gas congestion issues that we currently see today. So I think at least like in terms of the Hex staking, that should help out massively, because it's going to definitely reduce like how much is moving through, let's say, layer 1 at a given time. Right. I do think over time though that, because effectively what that does is it now opens up block space on layer 1 that could get filled in with maybe like some other roll up or just more demand on the network. So it is likely you still run into congestion like at some later point in time on layer 1, and this is true for like all networks. If you're using mostly layer 2, it doesn't matter, but for layer 1, it's still stuff you should consider long term. With things like staking and all that stuff. Like what I'm actually going to end up doing is I'm going to take whatever stakes I have coming out and just aggregate them into like a larger stake, and then that way it's less of an issue that you run into things like fees and that kind of stuff.
Right. And
So
I think that's a good strategy moving forward. And I continue to find myself kind of moving that needle to the right as far as how much I recommend that you actually stake the size going down in the future.
Okay.
DYDX will be launching derivatives on zero knowledge proof rollouts via stakeware. That means margin train hex in the near future. Yeah, and so Blue Bum, I know I've messed around on DYDX too, as I was airdrop hunting. Yeah, I messed with their platform. It's actually fairly good. They're kind of the first ones to be working on this decentralized trading. So I could see them definitely that they might be the first ones that comes up with Hex. I know right now I think they just have DAI, ETH, USDC, and I don't know. I'd have to go back and look and see if they have anything else, but they don't have much on there. But I think their overall game plan is to roll out a bunch of other tokens as far as margin trading goes, which I know Richard will be happy to see if that ends up coming to fruition.
Yeah.
I know you mentioned like layer 2 staking and kind of like how early we are, and it really does go to show you, like, even when you think of like the internet, even in like the late 90s, a lot of these things weren't properly like structured and built out yet, but they continue to develop. I think like maybe other things like layer 2 and just other stuff being built on top might be implemented, to your point, into like applications, so you're not having to do a million different steps. And in the future it'll be, because you have to kind of scale right with the adoption in the future. I think there'll be a lot more better developments in that regard too, on a user interface.
Yeah.
Well, I know Crypto Ewok was talking about staking on layer 2, and that's something that we'd have to talk to like one of the devs, because that's a little bit beyond my scope. I don't know, since the contract's built on layer 1. I don't know if that's something just like the stakes themselves, like we have the Hex Bay doing with encapsulated hex stakes. I don't know if you would actually be able to encapsulate like an entire contract as well, and I wouldn't know necessarily how that works. But I'm sure there's other solutions as well. If Hex does need to migrate onto layer 2 at some point, there's probably a method to it. It's just, it would be beyond my scope. We'd have to rely on someone like Dev Kyle or Steph Firebun, someone that's more knowledgeable in space. You wouldn't know anything along those lines, would you? Looking at crypto?
I don't actually. That's something I need to find out myself, because there's actually a comment from John Lee. There is going to be like discussions as far as like layer 2 staking and as far as what that means for security. And then what John was suggesting, it's similar to people launching on other, so DPoS, that's delegated proof of stake or proof of stake chains. I know one of the big selling points that I've seen, at least with something like Optimism, is that it inherits the security of Ethereum, and to what extent, I don't know. But as far as the security model for a lot of this stuff, I think kind of the reality is we are going to move towards layer 2 one way or another. So a lot of I'd imagine that anything surrounding the security is going to there's going to be a lot of developers looking at that kind of stuff. So I would be surprised if there wasn't, like, I'm basically saying this out of ignorance right now. I do not know the security, but I would be surprised if there wasn't a solution that somebody at some point does figure out. Because the whole thing with layer 2 is what I do know is there are certain advantages as far as there is, like, you do inherit some of the security that Ethereum offers, but to what extent, I don't know. That's kind of the missing piece right now.
And then there's another part that Crypto Ewok brought up about the Genosis safes, and could you do something similar along those lines as well? And I know what they're doing is slightly different. Essentially, you're relying on social consensus to recover, say, your seed phrase. So again, with a problem, common problem we have with no coiners and plebs coming on into the space, is one of the biggest issues they have is they don't realize how important those seed words are, so they lose them. Gnosis safes give people the ability to, essentially, if you have trusted individuals, you get social consensus, say 3 out of 5 people that you've given access or partial access to your Genosis safe. If they concur, then you can recover your seed phrase. There might be some cool stuff that can come down the road with that technology. I was just kind of spitballing with some guys last night, and we were talking about it would be cool, down the road, if maybe you can use that same sort of social consensus to maybe almost not just recover your safe, but maybe transfer it. Like, and again, that goes beyond my depth, but it would be cool if there'd be an ability to generate almost like a new seed phrase for a wallet, and you're able to actually transfer the stake via the Gnosis, this new Gnosis safe technology. And again, a lot of this stuff is just kind of on the cutting edge. So a lot of people like us, we're not quite privy what can be and cannot be done on this kind of stuff, but it's a lot of things that the devs are actually working on, and like Firebun and Steph, like they probably are more knowledgeable on the Gnosis safes than anyone probably out there right now with staking up.
Right. In terms of because like I guess in terms of wallet security, because one thing that is really empowering is you know, you're obviously like storing your own coins and things like that, but there are now better ways of basically storing even things like private keys much more safe, I guess, so that so like in the case, like a lot of people, I'm sure they write down their seed words on a piece of paper and then they store it like in the same room as like their computer or they access like their crypto wallets and things like that. So that generally isn't a good idea, because for one, if your peers know that you're into cryptocurrency, you could actually have like there was actually threads on this on Reddit last cycle where there was individuals that bought, like, let's say hardware wallets directly from the manufacturer, but still managed to have all their shit stolen. And it's because the like when you buy things like a hardware wallet, they just give you like a basic way of like store. It's like basically you write it on this little like card or something like that. But if somebody, yeah, well that, and they there's the whole database leak. But yeah, it's like if you I would never actually store basically your private seed anywhere near like the same location you even access things from, like hardware wallets. So there's better tools out there now. Like they have they call them like crypto steel, where you can store it in things like capsules, and you can even do things like I always suggest things like key splitting, where if somebody, let's say, steals one of the capsules, they don't actually have like all the words to your private key. So there's ways to like work around that now. It's just basically a matter of becoming familiar with that.
Yeah, they might only have a third or a fourth of the words.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
It's important to
stuff. Go ahead, Brent. Sorry.
Oh, I mean, take your security seriously, man, because your crypto and your stakes and stuff like this, it can gain value so quickly that now if you didn't take the proper precautions to take security seriously, well, now you might be vulnerable 5 years down the road, 10, 15, however long you're doing it. And so I agree about the like splitting up your seed phrase, things like that. There's a lot of methods that have been, stand the test of time, and stuff like that's important, man, because, I mentioned it in my last stream, but like if your house burns down or if someone puts a gun to your head, like, can you pass that up? Like, can you recover that in the future?
Yeah. Blue Bum, I hope DYDX does an airdrop. I know I did about like 20 wallets early on, so that'll be a nice payday for me if they do an airdrop.
Does let me look up because I'm familiar with DYDX, but I don't know if I've used them really for. Okay, no, they're it looks like they're basically it's mostly derivative. So no, I haven't. For some reason, I was thinking of wrapped ETH. But that's through 0x. That's not through DYDX.
Right.
Dude, the amount of airdrops that are just being like shit out in this market this cycle is wonderful.
Stupid. It's like, you know what they did? They just copied the Federal Reserve and just like, we can print money too. And it's just every decentralized exchange is they're trying to kind of attract people to their platform. It's just like, don't worry, like we'll do an airdrop. So right now I'm following MetaMask like a freaking hawk, and it's so funny to go because they've actually been doing pretty amazing stuff, and MetaMask is just absolutely killing it. Like the amount of updates and stuff they're coming now, just streamline the process and just make it easier for everyone. Like they're taking over essentially the entire Ethereum network as far as like the #1 wallet and everything they can do, and It's funny. I'm watching all their updates and stuff on Twitter, and I like to go on and just read their thread, and it's literally everyone just frothing at the mouth. I wish everyone would kind of ease up a little bit, because it makes me think that MetaMask is just gonna keep pushing off their airdrop, because everyone in there's just like, when airdrop, like, come on, like, I need this. Like, everyone's losing their mind waiting for this potential MetaMask airdrop, which I think is going to happen at some point. But I'll look for it here in a bit. But someone posted something earlier about just showing the profit margins that MetaMask has been making off its new swapping feature, and it's just continued to just exponentially rise month per month per month. And I think, honestly, at this rate, as long as the hype is still there for MetaMask and their swap, they might just keep postponing it, because they just continue to just make money hand over fist more and more each month, the more this hype continues to go on and grow. So we might be just essentially just putting our foot in our mouth, and MetaMask might be kind of sitting back and just let everyone else, all these other exchanges, do the airdrops, and then MetaMask is going to have the airdrop to end all airdrops, essentially, go out with a bang. And it's gonna be the most massive thing we've ever seen if they win, and if they ever do their airdrop.
Yeah, that's one I'm definitely gonna keep an eye on, because MetaMask is like, that's probably the most important wallet that exists for Ethereum. It's what all 100%. The developers use. Like, that would be a pretty incredible one. That's what. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Brian.
Oh, the airdrop to rule them all, right? Like the one, like the Lord of the Rings reference.
Yeah, one ring to rule them all, one airdrop to rule them all. Yeah, MetaMask would be the one. Like, Uni was pretty impressive. The price of Uni is pretty impressive, and every airdrop to date, I pretty much instantly converted over to Hex. But this, and I mean, I'll be honest with you guys, this will probably be the first one that I do plan on probably holding a large portion of the MetaMask token and watching. I'll sell a small portion up front, but for the most part, I'll be holding a good portion, because I don't think I'll be alone in that mindset as well, because just like LookIntoCrypto said, this is the #1 wallet and Ethereum. So, like, there's no way I can't foresee that coin not doing well. Like, I think you have the potential of seeing a 2 to 5x within a matter of a week or two, and then from there, who knows what you're gonna do. But I can't foresee that coin not doing well, even if it's complete shit, which most of these airdrop tokens are. They're either governance tokens, or, hey, we'll slightly reduce our ridiculous gas fee tokens. Doesn't matter. I think MetaMask is going to have enough hype and enough support behind it where it's going to be an easy return on your money.
Money. and because MetaMask has been it's been a core piece in everything that's happened on Ethereum up until this point, just because it's like part, you can think of it as like part of the infrastructure in a sense, because it's such a commonly used wallet. There's already, like, what's already interesting is, and this is why I don't think the volume of money that's flown into the space, at least from institutional investors, has really necessarily totally died off yet, because what was really interesting is there's actually now more competitors to things like Grayscale, for example. So Grayscale used to be the main custodian during, I think, the last market cycle through things like GBTC, but they expanded their product offerings and offer Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then honestly, once you go past like Bitcoin, Ethereum, like there's just a lot of garbage that they put in their product offerings, like things like Zcash that's never going to get used, things like that. So what's happening now is there's more custodians that are entering the space. Like Bitwise is probably one of the more lethal ones for Grayscale, because they're looking into things like DeFi. They have a fund that they are offering now to accredited investors, and I know Uniswap was one of those funds. And by the way, if you haven't had a Uniswap now, I think if you buy at this point, you're chasing. I would not buy.
Oh yeah.
I don't. It's not. I don't consider it a good value. But it's more for. Just to kind of get the point across that they are starting to pay attention to other protocols that are built on top of Ethereum. So they have, like, in their Bitwise DeFi fund, they have, I know Uniswap was one of their assets. They have a collection of other ones as well. So they are paying attention. So it's likely we are going to see more economic mass enter the market through basically these derivatives. So all of that looks good. That's why I'm still pretty optimistic, like on the total 2 chart. If you can see it on TradingView, we could even pull it up sometime during the stream. But I do think there's probably another solid 10x on that thing, not financial advice. So things are going to have, what it means is basically things are going to have like varying performance relative to each other. So something like Ethereum could do, if it goes to $10,000, that's like another, let's just say 6x. Other things are going to do a 12, things like that. So I think even if we see a nasty correction sometime this year before the summer, and assuming before we go into like a manic bubble, because if we enter a manic bubble, then we could enter a bear market in 2022. But if we don't enter necessarily that blow off bubble this year, then it's probably likely we'll still be basically in a bull run in 2022. But if we see mania and if we see $10,000 Ethereum this year, like I'm gonna just say bets are off, at least on my part, for 2022 and onward. I'm just gonna wait and see how it plays out.
It's interesting, right? So like I've noticed this, and like I've early on from my first like cryptos experience back in 2016 and 2017, like I initially started off in the miner sector. So like I didn't realize it at the time, but like I was able to notice indicators of when the cycle was at its peak, when it was starting to drop off, just basically following simple things. Like I was very intuitive on GPU pricing, and when stuff was coming back into stock, and like little stuff that wasn't necessarily as apparent to everyone else was like giant red flags to me when I was so deeply involved in like the mining space. And I was able to see like, oh shit, like this thing's taking a downturn quick at the end of 2016 and beginning of 2017. So I was able to exit my positions on a lot of stuff and was able to get out before just the bloodbath that ensued. And it's kind of the same thing now as I watch this, and as we kind of enter this bull run, like again, like that manic state you were talking about, I really don't think we've even come close to touching what this bull run can do if we get to that point again, because I'm getting the indications of all my no coiner friends are coming, because again, like most of you guys probably in this chat and on stream right now, you're probably known to your friends as like the cryptocurrency guy, or they know that you're at least involved, and so you'll have them start coming to you. And I've literally had just about everyone start coming to me, and they want to get in and they're starting to tiptoe around it, but none of them have really made that plunge yet. Like it hasn't gone to that manic state where they're grabbing me and just like, I need to get in. Like we're not there. Like I think what we're seeing now is still the leftovers of these companies and all the hype from that. But when you get those full waves of just straight FOMO manic adoption coming in from just no coiners and plebs or whatever you want to call them, that's when it'll just get stupid. Like just numbers that you can't even wrap your mind around. If we get to that state, it's gonna explode. And we're on the cusp of it, but I'm just watching my friends, and they're just not at the point where they're still pulling that trigger. They're getting a little bit of information from me. They're trying to figure out what they kind of need to do, but they're not like pinning me up against the wall now, just like I need to get in like now. Like we're not quite there yet.
Yeah, I agree. And then I'm just gonna backtrack one thing in the chat. Somebody was asking what MetaMask token's gonna do. Honestly, it doesn't even matter. It does not matter. It's there's already most of the buying in this market is like out of wild speculation. I mean, even the DeFi fund that Bitwise is offering, there's a lot of speculation. Like I'm sure there's a lot of speculation on their part. And it's pretty natural. Like you don't really see what tends to really float to the top until after the next bear market. Like when you're in a market cycle, it really does not matter. But during the next bear market is where you might start to see like the market start to favor certain things for whatever reason. So I think for now it doesn't matter too much. And yeah, this is actually something I noticed too, is like some of my coworkers similarly are actually asking, but they're not, it's similar to what Motley was saying. They're they're like
they're not
starting to get
frothing
it
yet.
Yeah, they're not frothing yet. So I'm like,
They're
we're
not
still
frothing. They're
we're still
intrigued.
okay.
They're interested, but they're not FOMOing in just yet.
Yeah.
So that's what I was saying. Like we're on the cusp of that wave coming in. So you still have time, but it's running out. Check our Twitter group. Look into crypto. I posted while we're just so we can clean up and finish up with MetaMask. I posted a really good tweet that shows you the growth of MetaMask and the profits they've been taking from their swapping feature. So you guys can just kind of see the interest that's been growing in the MetaMask token. Like I think they're up to like over $10 million from the month of February as far as revenue goes from the swaps. So you'll be able to actually look at the chart and see like they're making some serious money off this, and I see them potentially dragging out this airdrop. I think it is just a matter of when, but that is the question, is when they
this is really interesting.
If you want to share your screen and we can kind of walk through it. Yeah, I forgot who the original poster of that tweet was, but it was Token Terminal posted this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do this here. Share screen. StreamYard. All right. And then so here's the tweet from Token Terminal. To be honest, I'm kind of winging it right now, Motley, so feel free to jump in.
That's fine. I might have to open it up on the other one so I can see, but there you go. Okay. So this is their monthly. So keep in mind, guys, all of MetaMask's revenue right now is just from their swapping feature. They've added it looks like back in the November, give or take.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's more than like
right? Oh, sorry, go ahead, Brian.
What's that, Brian?
Oh, they take like a bigger fee than like most might, right? So like it might incentivize them more to work on something like an exchange or like a token like this. I mean,
yeah. So biggest thing with this is just look. Yeah, you could chart this revenue stream pretty easily right now, right? And this just continues. This is obviously an older post, but you could just continue to chart their upward trajectory and the more interest that MetaMask is drawing in. So like that's the funny thing. And like I said, when I've been following their tweets and just the comment sections are just rampant with when airdrops. So like there's no reason for them to even rush this. Like do they have it set up yet? Do they know how they're going to drop it? All that stuff? Maybe not. But they are making money hand over fist right now, so why not just continue to kind of drag that along and let people continue to speculate? I'm one of those degens that's speculating crazy on MetaMask airdrop. So like I've made multiple wallets with multiple seats.
Smart.
Actually very
smart. I was
biggest things, guys, is like eliminate your risk, right? So like as you've seen with these airdrops, they usually are starting to come out with different features to keep people from gaming the system. So like I've started doing new wallets with new seeds. Will MetaMask actually be able to hone in on wallets and individual seeds? Not sure. I know Richard Hart mentioned that if he was doing an airdrop like MetaMask might do in the future, he would do something similar. And usually Richard Hart's been right. And then on top of that, he's much more familiar with some of the tools or abilities that MetaMask has than I am. So I've started doing that. I've started building wallets with new seeds. The earlier you get in, the better, right? Because at some point they need to take a snapshot. So doing a wallet, taking a swap is better to do it today than tomorrow. So the sooner the better on that. After that, we've seen transaction sizes become a factor. Like all transactions have to be $20. I know after a certain point you had to do a transaction over $20 for the 1 inch swap. So like I have one Ethereum that I move around. I just make sure my transaction's the size of one Ethereum. I figure that should cover any transaction limits MetaMask might put on it. So again, just like anything else in crypto, right? It's all about limiting your risk variables. So like I'm trying to key in on all the stuff that could limit my transactions, and when I'm trying to essentially game the system for a massive amount of free money, I'm trying to set myself up for success. Now, I'm always hesitant to even mention it because I'm sure MetaMask isn't really watching our streams, but the only thing that would absolutely cripple me, knock on wood, that they don't do is multiple transactions. If they implement something like that,
that would be
that would devastate my entire strategy, because I've foregone that just because of the fact that obviously gas fees are that high, and I'm taking a chance in that one category essentially. And the way I've rationalized that with myself is essentially they do want this coin spread out, right? Like they do want this distributed out to their users. And I think there is a lot of users that maybe only have done one swap. So I have a hard time seeing them putting a multiple transaction requirement on it. But maybe they do get to that point. Maybe they get to the point where they've realized too many people have tried to game the system on the MetaMask airdrop.
Right.
And maybe they do implement something like that. So slightly worried about that kind of vector, but I'm risking it for the biscuit on that one. One transaction and going for it on that one.
Yeah, that's I was actually even thinking like it's possible. This is pretty funny actually, but if there was enough people in the Hex community where they were just going from, let's say, ETH to like wrapped ETH, and then like because if they haven't done the snapshot yet, they could be like, what the fuck? Like why is there so many people like doing one transaction from ETH to wrapped ETH? So
bro, I can't imagine them just looking at all these different transactions. Like they can see all this clear as day, all these people that are gaming the system. So
right.
It's going to be interesting to see. Again, like I said, I think it's only a matter of when they do this airdrop, not a matter of if. And it's going to be curious to see how they decide to actually release these tokens. I'm going to be very interested. Obviously, I'm invested in what they decide, so I'll be following. I've been following them like a hawk.
Yeah, well, honestly,
even if like when they do, I like that they are like taking their time, right? Because like, usually with like the first domino, you've got a whole bunch of other dominoes, and we've seen a lot of exchange, a lot of tokens and airdrops. But MetaMask seems to be, if they do that in the future, at least taking their time, which I admire.
Yeah, real quick too on Mass Bro Effect. I'm going through these questions. I'm a little bit behind. So I know you were asking multiple MetaMask wallets. Would you get multiple airdrops? So that's what I did initially, right? So I had about like 20 wallets done initially, all within the same MetaMask account. But then Richard put out that tweet like, hey, you might want to look into actually creating a new seed. And you have the ability in Google Chrome where you can create just a new Chrome profile, a new browser. And it's real easy to install a new MetaMask, and you can have that new Chrome profile on your whatever you're using for your crypto. And so after that, again, it was just one more option I could do to kind of eliminate my risk of maybe missing out on that first wallet or that first MetaMask that has 20 different accounts. Maybe I only get one airdrop for that if MetaMask really does have an ability to narrow it down to one seed. If they do have that kind of ability, then I went ahead and went the safer route and started to create new MetaMask with new seeds just to kind of eliminate that risk.
Well, at least we now know who the MetaMask whale is.
Bro, watch out. If MetaMask does an airdrop, I'm going to be sitting pretty. I will say that. Hopefully.
That's good.
Hopefully.
Yeah. I'm actually going to look in. I'm going to assume that the snapshot hasn't taken place yet. I have no idea. I have no clue at all. But
better today than tomorrow, right?
Yeah, if you make like 1,000 different wallets, let's say each one, let's just play with numbers here. Why not?
Oh, trust me, I've been playing with numbers.
Yeah, that could end up being an absurd amount of money if you take just $500 times. If you're really dedicated, dude, you could probably make like a bot that just keeps like sweeping through, making like more and more wallets. But I guess the transaction cost, because it probably costs like what, $40 to do swap through MetaMask.
I've spent several $1,000s on MetaMask wallets, and that's waiting for optimal times on the weekend, East Coast time, like 1 a.m., 2 a.m. in the morning, and I'll sit there with my computer and I'll be doing like 5, 6, 7 transactions, and even then I've spent a shit ton of money on gas. I'm kind of scared to go look at my gas fees and how much I've spent over the past year or so, but it's hopefully, and you just have to rationalize it for yourself, right? Like, so I really hope MetaMask is a thing. I can't see it not being them taking advantage of all this generating these coins and taking advantage of all that money out there. So for me, it almost seems like it's inevitable. So why not take that risk? Even at today's high gas prices, you're talking anywhere between a 20 and maybe upwards of a $50 transaction. But look at the upside. Like all the minimum the airdrops have been anywhere between 2,500 and $3,000 to initially start worth of tokens. Like for a potential $30-$50 risk, like to me the upside is astronomical. And then you have the largest Ethereum wallet, which is MetaMask, which again that coin's going to do an easy 2 to 5x in my eyes. That's an amazing amount of wealth that's just sitting on the table to be taken. If you
what do you recommend? Like do you recommend just swapping over a fucking ETH? Because that's what I was thinking as well.
Yeah,
that's what I did.
So that's what I was talking about earlier. I guess I didn't really specify what I was doing. I'm literally just going between Ethereum and USDC. And so it will cost you a little bit more transaction because on one wallet you're eventually going to have your Ethereum and USDC, and then I transfer both those to the next wallet, so I eat a little extra fees there, and then I consolidate doing a swap all back to ETH. So that way all my ETH stays in, because I want it to stay in ETH right now. Obviously, with the price appreciation of ETH, I want it to, if it's going to sit there until I do my next transactions, I all want it to sit on ETH. So I'll do that. So next one, I'll switch from ETH back to at least 1 ETH worth of USDC, and then I move both those to the next wallet, consolidate, and I just move on back and forth like that. So I've been going that route.
It's good. I'm gonna consider that as well. Like I'm just gonna look at the gas fees and then just find time slots where it's lower. I'll probably just do a couple wallets. Why not? The ETH to USDC is probably a safer bet because at least you're converting from. Because if you're going from ETH to wrapped ETH, like you're not actually buying.
That's what I was curious about. Like I wasn't sure because that was kind of my initial game plan, but then I was worried about is it going to register that as a swap? Because you're not really going from one token to another. So like I'm just kind of again trying to eliminate that risk and set yourself up for success for receiving that airdrop. That might be something that potentially prevents you from getting that airdrop. Just like I've also wondered doing stuff on layer 2 if that would work as well. But at this point I've done enough transactions on layer 1. I'm not gonna mess with it.
Yeah.
And did you go over it's only one, it's probably only going to count with one seed phrase?
Seed. Yep. We discussed
it's smart.
that as well. Yep.
Good to see you, DollarCost.
What's up, bud?
Hey, what up, man?
Getting ready for the gauntlet coming your way?
Yeah, the course closes in about 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Get on.
No, 3 hours and 20 minutes. 3 hours and 20 minutes, and it's closed.
Can you?
No more. You can't get in. No, that's right, Motley. No.
Can you go over? Can you go over numbers? Can you go over numbers of what you guys had yet, or are you guys keeping that close to the vest? Or
currently we have about over 800 people in the course now.
Wow, that's awesome.
Nice, dude.
Yeah. 800 people. Awesome. I'm not sure exactly. It's 800, but we're still adding up because more keep digging in.
Right.
But you can either pay in crypto or you can just pay through Stripe or PayPal. Honestly, Stripe's a little better. It's by Stripe. If you go on the site, it's just put in your credit card information and then that. But we also accept cryptocurrency like Bitcoin or Ethereum. But it's going to take a while for us to get your transaction because we're manually having to make sure that it's you and it's your confirmation number and everything like that. So it takes a while.
Okay, and I think you guys are offering a little bit of discount for cryptocurrency if you pay in cryptocurrency, though, right?
There's a 10% discount for the course, and here I'll just get you the link. Sorry.
Okay, yeah, go ahead and throw it in there.
Sorry, my voice is a little bad. It's like I was really tired.
You're good. Yeah, no, I feel you. I passed out before the stream too, so it took me a while to wake up.
There you go. There's the thing. There's like the sales copy and stuff, and then with a bunch of the testimonials as well for the course.
Awesome.
And you can just go on there. Basically, what the course teaches is it's a course that you can take a beginner or anyone intermediate or advanced into it. But it's really what I really recommend is for someone that's in crypto right now, but it feels like they're falling a little behind as well. It sharpens you up. It's a really good boot camp. It's 10 days. It's morning and night. It's 10 Eastern Standard Time in the morning and 10 Eastern Standard Time at night. We put these at these times right here. So especially the night one. So I know a lot of people are working throughout the day, and then you're able to kind of catch the night one and then watch the recording of the morning one afterwards, right? So we set it up so most time zones essentially can tune in, or at least, you know, I know guys that log in through their phone through Zoom and they're listening to us on a headphone while working.
Mm-hmm.
If you really want this info, you'll end up getting it, you know.
I do all the time. I put my little earbud in at work, and I'm not listening to a goddamn thing that's going on at work. It's crypto streams 24/7, right? Because like, if you're not taking advantage of this run right now, like honestly, you're kind of stupid, because there's so much wealth generation this cycle. Like it still blows me away that it's even possible. So like you become more and more dangerous the more knowledge you have. So 24/7, I pretty much have an earpiece in, and I'm taking in streams, Moon Gang stream, DollarCost stream, LookIntoCrypto stream, pretty much anyone that I respect in the space that's knowledgeable. I'm listening, I'm following everything, every minute I have, like, and do it healthy, right, too, because like a lot of us have relationships on the outside as well, so that can put a strain on it. So make sure you have a nice balance. Again, just like even us doing this stream right now, it takes us away from our loved ones. So make sure you balance it out properly. But at the same time, these opportunities do not come along that often. Like, I mean, it's taken us over 4 years to get to this cycle again. So make sure you maximize it to the best of your abilities. And that doesn't mean go fucking get a second mortgage on your house and max out your credit cards. Don't be freaking stupid, but take advantage of it, right?
Right.
Couldn't agree more.
Go take DollarCost's course and brush up on everything. Learn new skills. Learn what the new market movers are out there, new technology that's out there, and it's gonna get you guys an easy leg up. And like, how much are you guys charging? 800 this go round?
No, it's $697.
$697. Okay, and that's a drop in the bucket, with what you're gonna learn. Like, their course is probably the most professionally well done course that's ever been out that I've seen.
And I've dropped more than that in like 2017 on other courses that didn't teach you as much, you know. So people like yourself and Charlie and whoever else is doing it, I think it's really cool to let like new people be informed and not make those mistakes that can be so costly, because you know a lot of us have learned them ourselves. That shit can be expensive to learn it the hard way. You know, if you can learn from someone else like yourself, you can save a lot of money.
That's kind of crazy. I put the link twice in the chat, but it didn't show up. Huh.
Biddy's like too late. I already sold my wives and girlfriends. Good move. Hopefully you got a deal. And then Mass Bro Effect earlier, I guess when I was talking about the MetaMask wallet, he's like, I thought I was a DJ. Yeah, bro. I'm full DJ on airdrops.
It's probably DC actually say something in the chat, because I can just make you a mod, and then it should, but there might be some kind of override. I don't know.
Posting links.
Yeah, you can post the link to I'll post it here too. If you guys want to basically check out DC and Charlie's course that's starting, the link is posted in the YouTube chat. I would highly recommend it if you are new to this market. It's very rare where you actually have basically a course with knowledgeable. Like the difference is DC and Charlie. Like Charlie has been streaming since Bitcoin is $3,000. Charlie is legit. DC has been in the market since Bitcoin's $3,000. Very active through the bear market, very active through the bull market. It's very rare where you find actually individuals in this market that offer quality content. So if you actually want to work with two guys that actually know what they're talking about, so Charlie and DC, definitely check out their course. Again, links posted in the chat. I'll also put it in the description of the video as well, along with their Twitter handles if you want to reach out to them on Twitter. So
how much time do they have? You said only like 3 hours before it closes out?
You guys really only it closes today.
3 hours, guys.
3 hours. Yeah, you guys got 3 hours and 14 minutes.
Yeah, so if you want it, get on it. And again, I'm pretty sure everyone on the screen will probably vouch for it. So
we have people taking time off of work. They literally took their whole paid vacation to like. That's
cool. And that shows you what the opportunity cost is, right? Like that just goes back to it. Like these cycles don't come around very often. So like make money while the sun's out. And Internet Lurker said, don't spend too much time with your loved ones. Be a man and just get a divorce.
Yeah. Be a man.
Be a man, get a divorce.
Do you see that guy on TikTok and stuff that does that? Like
no.
there's some guy that's like it's like this guy with like a hairy chest and stuff, and he does like drink coffee without sweetener, be a man, and he just does like be a man as a shtick, and he does like tons of videos like that, like
nice.
Do a 5-5-5 steak, be a man, be a man. Get into the course, you guys.
That's
be
funny.
a man.
Be a man.
Yeah, I'm posting links right now in the chat. Give me 30 more seconds, and you'll have everything there.
Can you mod me real quick too? As well?
Yeah. Let me just finish editing the description here.
But yeah, like the course is like A to Z. If you don't know, obviously a lot of you guys are hexagons, so obviously you guys know how to use MetaMask and all that stuff. But it will sharpen up other skills that you may not have in the space in terms of airdrops, maybe portfolio allocation. Because a lot of you guys are going to start coming into wealth, and this is something that I've had to deal with. But there were two really big events. One was Hex, another one was like Celsius token for myself, where I had these huge windfall events. As well as, obviously I'm all staked out, but there's these huge windfall events for myself where I essentially had to diversify a little bit and learn how to make a portfolio. I've done very, very well with this portfolio, and it's allowed me to have more and more income coming in. That's allowed me to buy more Hex as well. I only just recently essentially just stopped because I filled up I finally filled up everything that I needed to fill up with my Hex ladders. But yeah, I'm all the way laddered out every single month, like everything. It's like
same.
I am like this rocket. Let's go.
You just can't miss at this point, If you position yourself correctly and you made the right moves at the beginning of the cycle, like you're set. you're loaded up and ready for the damn moon and probably beyond the moon this cycle. God, the internet lookers kill me right now with these. Don't go to the hospital, be a man, die.
Tuberculosis, die.
All right, so the links should be in the description of the video, and then let me mod you guys in the chat too.
Yeah,
So it's both AM and PM, and in the morning it's 2 hours. And after the 2 hour recorded session, we have 2 hours of Q&A where that stuff gets hot. Stuff we cannot record and put on the air, but holy crap. Like people who've taken the course twice already say like, yo, I come back just for that non-recorded Q&A, man. Oh my God.
I imagine it's probably exactly what takes place like with us when we end these streams, right, and go back in the green rooms and the shit we talk about and stuff that like, love you guys, but some of the stuff we just can't throw on stream, and it just goes off the chain. And like we'll end the stream and we'll stay up for another 2 or 3 hours, just like the green rooms, the back rooms. That's when everything goes down. Like everything just pops off. It's fun, right? I can only imagine you guys with 800 freaking people right now. It's gonna get wild.
Yeah,
absolutely wild.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. Charlie, Cultivate Crypto in the chat. Charlie, I added you as moderator. DC, you're a mod. Motley, you're a mod. And then Bran, if I haven't already, let me just make sure. Bran's a mod too.
Okay, cool. There we go.
All right, we're good. We're set.
I mean, I agree with what Motley is saying, with what DollarCost is saying. When you've got a bull market and when you've got life-changing wealth, that's the opportunity. How can you not take advantage of that? And when you're getting into something new, the best thing you can do is learn from someone that's been experienced and been through the ropes, right? So that course, it sounds super informative, and I think things like a Q&A are even more awesome, because then it's engaging and you can get those questions answered that you have that are burning.
Yeah, I mean, Lemon Ortega, we were well, I'm not gonna say if we answered these, but we were getting freaking Silk Road questions.
Yeah, I saw someone just ask about that.
Oh my God, Mexico and gold. That's all I'll say.
Bro, it was me, Coffee, Franklin, Yashdeep, and El Hexadente. We were talking on Twitter's new Spaces, essentially like the Clubhouse, their version of Clubhouse last night. So it was really fun, and we're talking about essentially a common thing in the Hex communities. We're talking about getting buying essentially a mansion and just having like turning into a large like streaming studio. I think it'd be really fun. A lot of us kind of want to do it, and we're so we were like talking about El Dorado before that. We're like, yo, we'll just call it like Hexerado, El Hexerado. Just City of Gold, baby, City of Gold. But it was funny too, right? Because we were having a really good conversation on there, and then we started talking about that lovely virus we have going around, and then they ended our chat, which was unfortunate. I think we mentioned it a few too many times though, and triggered a bot. Yeah. But those new things like Spaces on Twitter and Clubhouse, definitely interesting platforms, especially if you guys are in the crypto space and you want to start getting out there. It's even if you're starting out like most of us on here and you're still young or growing your channel, it's a good way to get out in front of a large audience or reach out to influencers that might be much larger than you that you wouldn't be able to reach out to normally. So if it's something you're interested in, definitely check it out.
Oh yeah. So when Hex Stream House?
Bro, you have no like we're talking about how much money everyone like we're all talking about throwing in like 125 150K. Like we could definitely make a sick mansion. And then like I was talking about putting in a lazy river like that thing is gonna be it. If everything does as well as we think it's going to do, like easy money, and shit, it could all be a freaking business expense. And just I'm down for it. We're talking about Puerto Rico or like somewhere in Florida, just big ass baller mansion, streaming studios, everything.
Right.
Yep.
Water slides.
Ben Mala house. Ben Mala kind of house. That's kind of what ran through my head when I was saying. I was like, lazy river. It's like Ben Mala's got that lazy river. I was like, I want one.
That lazy river.
Yeah.
Hire some maids and stuff like that to do all the keeping and stuff. Because that house is going to be big, a mansion for sure.
Nothing but the finest French maids.
It's just trolling each other all day. Look at this. Oh my God. He's still in the bathroom. He's still in there. What is he doing?
It would just be like a giant like crypto frat house. I already know that's what it would turn into, which I'm okay with.
Is everyone just shirtless drinking beers?
gives no fucks, no cares in the world,
right.
Just basking in their amazing gains this year.
We have a maid called Maria, and she's just like super mean to everybody. Motley, pick up your clothes. What are you doing? Look at all this.
Like what? That's what I pay you for. I'll tip you.
I agree, Motley, when you mentioned kind of like, whenever in the future, like more meetups can happen and more conferences and stuff like that, because it's awesome to do it live stream and whatnot. But man, I bet a lot of people are looking forward to, having some cool conferences when everything else is cool with that too.
Yeah. As long as no one gets arrested, I'll be happy. It's gonna be like Project X with the parties.
The next bear market is really gonna be a good time to get all that stuff kind of set up, because like it's whenever there's lots of negativity or that's usually like the best time to even get, like, that'd be an amazing time to get all that stuff set up, unless it ends up overlapping like into the bull market. I'll try to, like, that's one thing I'll probably juice up. Like, maybe I'm not as enthused, like, I don't think it really matters so much for this market cycle, but between like market cycles, well, shit, man, like the next one could be a long time before the next like bull market. That's why even going back to the point where you said like you're listening to the streams, you're keeping in tune with where the market's at is really important, because these opportunities, I mean, this is a very short window in time, but I mean, you get these explosive gains where things they go to prices you can't even expect, but those come, the period of time things spend pumping is shorter than the next, like the bear market, so to say. So the next bear market after this one, it could be, I mean, we could be in like a 5 to 7 year bear market. So definitely capitalize when the opportunity is here. There's a huge opportunity cost if you don't. Like, do not be that guy that looks back at things in hindsight. Like, hindsight is just, it's an excuse. Like, that's all it is. Like,
You didn't
100% excuse.
Yeah, and taking advantage and capitalizing on this bull run is going to set you up to capitalize in the bear run, because guess what, guys? Like, you need to capitalize in the bear market as well. So, like, just like LookIntoCrypto said, if we go on an extended bear market, you have to have the funds to have that ability to load up those bags in the bear market, because the amount that you're going to be able to buy if you capitalize and make the proper moves now, the amount you're going to be able to buy in the bear market for pennies on the dollar is going to be stupid. And so then when we come around that next cycle, everyone here right now is going to be a whale. Everyone's going to be a whale. You guys might be a shark now, or dolphin, or you're not quite whale status yet. But if you set yourself up properly and you have the right amount of funds this cycle, and you're able to make those correct moves in the bear and buy everything up in pennies on the dollar, you are going to be generationally wealthy. You're going to have more wealth than you know what to do with.
It doesn't take many cycles to your point. Like, I personally had one experience of, like, you know, low ETH and stuff like that. But yeah, imagine the next time around too. Doesn't take many of those to your point, have, you know, generational wealth and stuff like that. That's awesome.
Hell yeah. Play 2 cycles, dude. I'm saying, man, you play 2 cycles, bro. You're gonna, like,
2 cycles, you're rich. 3 cycles, you should be set for life.
I mean, it's this cycle at the very least has this entire year. I mean, like, oh my god! Like, I'll let you know, dude. I think ETH is gonna be like 6 to 8 Gs right before the summer ends.
We were talking about, like, that was one of the points that I touched on early on. I was like, I already was talking about making that mindset kind of transition. Like, I'm trying to stockpile as much ETH as I can right now, because that thing is ready to take off. And, like, yeah, you're saying 6-8 Gs by the end of summer. Like, I think conservatively you could say 10 Gs, no problem by the end of the year. But who knows what we really could be at? Like, it could just get stupid by the time we get to the end of the year, end of the cycle. Who knows what ETH could be sitting at freaking 20K.
That's a like, Bitcoin.
Yep.
But I do have to put one caveat on that, is we're probably going to get a correction around the time that ETH does hit 12. I mean, it's most likely going to be 6 to 8K. It could touch 10 or 12, but it's going to be like that. And we're going to, because I'm expecting as soon as ETH touches that level, we're going to get a correction. After like 2 months, we're going to go 2 to 3 months sideways, and then the rest of the year we're going to start going up. So, which is actually pretty good, because that extends us a little bit longer into 2022, which is good, because we want this market to be as long as possible. I would prefer it being as long as like most of 2022, but I would be scared if it actually went into 23, because then it would be that scenario that, like, LookIntoCrypto has been saying for quite a while about this horribly long bear market, which is it's basically if it's a 4-year cycle, it's just like you're a little hungover, but you're okay. It goes into 22, you're really hungover, but you're like, I'm okay. If it goes into 23 and we're still in the bull market, that is going to be a terrible bear market. Doesn't mean we don't make it, but it's just like we're going to be waiting a while.
Or Tega just asked you, LookIntoCrypto, why do you think we're in for a 7-year bear market? So
so the time that, so to be honest, I just threw a number out there, but what I do know is, if you look at Ethereum, for example, the time it took for Ethereum to enter its bull cycle this time around took longer than for Bitcoin during Bitcoin's previous market cycles. For Ethereum, it was about 2.5 years, give or take, where you could say, okay, it's now entering a bull market. I think it took roughly about 2 years for Bitcoin last cycle. So generally over time, because what happens is the economic mass to lift prices up higher and higher over time starts to go up. So the next time around, we're not going to be in 100. We're not going to bottom out like at 100 billion market cap across the board this time around. We could still be basically a multi-trillion or $1 trillion asset class by the time you even hit the bottom of the next bear market cycle. So the time it's going to take to accumulate that size of economic mass and then get to a point to push the prices higher is likely just going to take longer than the previous cycle. So if it took 2.5 years for Ethereum last cycle, it can take 4 to 5 years or even more. That's just kind of the reality once you start to work with like bigger and bigger numbers. So next cycle, these numbers you even see for Bitcoin today, like at $50,000, that could potentially be things like a price target for Ethereum in the next market cycle, but it's just going to take longer to play out. But I guess the curveball in there is this is also assuming we are like the market structure, all that stuff. There's a lot of money printing, so this please note that that doesn't necessarily consider any like fuck shit that happens like with the Federal Reserve. Like the amount of money that's printed, at least for this cycle, is a nice turbo for sure. Definitely good for higher prices. But I'm not necessarily banking on the same, like money will keep getting printed and printed and printed. I just don't necessarily expect it to be like these like $2 trillion airdrops like continuously. Like I think it is going to kind of start to taper off at a certain point. And then even that value, like 2 trillion today, like that may not do shit in like 5 to 6 years. So over time, like the effectiveness of printing money itself starts to deteriorate as well, because like the cash itself just isn't it's not as valuable anymore. So
this is going to be the cycle. This cycle is going to be known as the cycle of DeFi and airdrops. Yeah, that's for sure. I know we got a couple Hexicans in here talking about like how is Hex not going to be like the move in the bear market, and I think we've talked about that before. It really is, especially if we do enter something like you're saying, these elongated cycles of almost maybe up to a 7-year bear market. There really is going to be that hunt for decentralized products that are going to earn you a yield, and people are going to be looking at what the highest yield is going to be for their bags, where they want a majority of their bags so they can continue to grow their wealth and be that whale in the next cycle. So stuff like Hex and other probably Celsius as well, all these products that earn you yield are going to be huge. And then something that sits there and earns you 40% APY and say maybe a 5 to 7 year bear market, and then you can do a 3 to 5x on your principal on top of that. Like, oh my god, it's gonna be stupid. Yeah, Day 43 OG said, I've never felt more vindication for being staked long at Hex if we enter a 7-year bear market, which might end up coming to fruition.
Yeah, like the potential of what interest does, like we see the potential this cycle. So for example, this was really the cycle, as Motley mentioned, for DeFi, and we see a potential of that. I think when you start to get to higher prices, since those numbers, like in terms of the price floor, aren't necessarily going to be sustainable just yet, because it takes time to basically build up to like higher and higher price floors, market cycles, bear markets, blah, blah, blah. This cycle, we're seeing the potential of that, but there's going to be a certain point where there's holders that are generating thousands of dollars in yields on the weekly, but that's not probably. Tens of thousands, even yeah. Tens of thousands, but that isn't going to be sustainable for this market cycle. There's going to still be a huge shakeout into the next bear market, and then leading into the next market cycle, that's where you start to actually have sustainable passive income, so long as you play your cards right, you manage your risk, and maintain your position too. Like you never, there's and that's actually this is even going full circle back to the course that Charlie and DC are offering, because it goes into detail as to like what's very underrated is even how you scale out of this market, because there's general rules of thumb where you want to hedge your possibilities. You don't necessarily ever want to be in a position where you've totally sold out of your bag, but at the same time, you do want to make sure you do, like you guys do, take some profits like through this market cycle. Just remember these really high prices that we are going to see later this year, possibly 2022. Just remember that is only going to last over a very short snapshot of time before going into the next bear market. So do yourself a favor, just de-risk, hold your long-term positions, and you've basically set yourself up to buy up all the panic and chaos and negativity and the next bear market, because that's really how people get rich. Like, there's nothing nice about making money. Like, the money that the whales or future whales accumulate in this market, the supply over time is going to get more and more centralized. That's just how it works. Like, the best resources on the planet always get centralized. That's going to happen with money as well. So
and it's all you guys right now that can become those whales. Like, you have the opportunity to take that mantle of wealth transference. Like, it's everyone that's in here listening to this chat right now.
Definitely. But buying back that dip, and also some of you guys are just going to hold on too long, not take any freaking profits. And remember what Richard says. I mean, we all came here for the money, and everyone's lying to themselves if that's not the case. So you at some point, everyone here is an OG in Hex, like literally, like OG. I mean, even look at the crypto, like he's an OG too, because everyone who got into big payday, that's going to be. I mean, you got big payday stakes. You know what I mean? So it's like you got OG stakes, but there is this whole thing too, where like, I mean, I haven't really sold any Hex, but when I do get some profits, I'll sell some Hex, and then I'll be able to reaccumulate some Hex later on, because everything is correlated at some point, right? If Bitcoin and Ethereum all do 80% drops, we'll probably drop down in Hex too. I'll accumulate more Hex, get my T-shares up, and then be able to ride out the bear market much more comfortably. And it's that sort of a thing, you know. And two, I know a lot of guys in Hex, like I've had personal talks with them and told them, like, dude, you need to stop purchasing because you're literally just eating ramen. What the hell, bro? You know what I mean? Like,
I was talking to Mass Perfect about that ramen and tuna. He's like, I don't even know the taste of anything else at this point.
Yeah, like, you know, it's okay to buy the girlfriend a gift here and there, right? I mean, just not that expensive. You know, there's Hex to buy, but
or sell them, like Internet Lurker said. Sell them or be a man and get a divorce. all our options.
Yeah, if you do have to sell them, at least, because you're talking about the whole encapsulated idea.
Oh, no.
Okay, never mind.
We haven't even really touched on that.
Yeah.
We can touch into that a little bit, but in terms of, I'm talking about end staking, emergency end staking.
Okay. Yeah.
And then you can take your principal and this is what I recommend. You don't have to listen to me, but what I recommend is, and this is what I'm personally doing, is every time I have a stake that ends, I'm taking my principal plus 20% of the interest payment, and taking that money, splitting it in half, and putting one stake between year 5 to 10 and another stake between 10 to 15. Because I am noticing a lot of Hexicans that are maxing out 10 years and above and are completely ignoring the stakes in the middle here, because I think
Benny, I'm literally looking at Benny just essentially speaking to that merit. I missed out on big payday, but I made up for it with a bunch of 555 stakes. I'm like,
no, and that's perfectly okay.
That's
but
good.
Yeah,
take advantage, capitalize on the other ones. Yep.
Fill in the rest of the thing is, like, none of us are fortune tellers, or we can't really tell the exact. We can roughly tell 6 months a year from now, but like 2, 3
beyond
5
that,
years. No, we can't. So we could be in a bear market and Hex could be pumping for all we know. And then you'd be like I got no stakes. Shit. You know?
You mentioned like dollar cost average in, dollar cost average out. I mean, I do think it is important that take a little bit of profit every once in a while, especially if you're up, hundreds of X and stuff like that. I mean, that's obviously individual, but I definitely agree. I mean, I've got long stakes, shorter stakes, all in between, and I think it's important to have a ladder personally, but that's just me.
No, you're right. And then let me clarify. So right now I'm doing it in Hex, but technically, like later on, I'll be doing it more. I'll be calculating it more in T-shares. It's just like the when you have the principal, which, like, let's just say like 100,000 Hex, the principal. I mean the principal plus the interest. The interest is really like 70,000 Hex. That's what that's what it's been for me, at least when I end stake like 100,000 Hex, which is like roughly, I think it was 12 or 18 T-shares. I can't remember the exact T-share count. I always restake that, and I always end up having I basically kind of 2x it, because I'm going a little farther than that was a 1 year stake, and I've now turned it into a 5 to a 15-year stake, 2 of them. If you add them together, if I had put all that hex out to over here, it would be 3 times the shares. Maybe a little bit less than that, but roughly that, right? So it'd be 30.
You're averaging somewhere between 2 and 2.5, give or take.
Exactly, but
that's what I'm doing too.
So I am sacrificing a little bit of T shares, but I'm sacrificing it to have mobility and liquidity if needed, and also not to miss anything, because the whole thing in this game, it's all psychological. Hex, crypto, all this stuff is psychological. You have to have these, like, let me pull this up real quick. Gotta have these hands right here. You can't have these hands if you're in financial straits, like if you're fucking having trouble with like paying anything, right? So if you always have money coming out, you can make better moves. You don't maybe like, there we go. You
got you.
You're Arthur Mean out here, man. You gotta make sure to do all that stuff. So it's your T-shirt, because like from the bonus of having 1 year stakes to 5 year stakes is my T-shirt rate only goes up. Yep. It only goes up.
Grow,
right? So I basically have 5 to 6 years essentially to kind of make capital, let hex go down and up and down, right? And then accumulate more shares. And at a certain point, my T shares are just going to stay like this. Essentially, maybe go up a little bit like this. And then from there, it's mostly what I can gather from the market to increase my T-shirt count at that point. So anyone that's laddered, essentially you have the bonus of like, you're going to be in the class of people that are like this. Everyone's inflating, you're going up in the ladder like this. Yeah. You can almost literally, if you look at your T-shirt count, double it, and that's probably what you're going to have end of the day. Once you kind of are done peaking in terms of laddering.
Yeah, because eventually with the T-share price continuing to rise, there's eventually going to be that point where you can't grow your T-shares anymore just based off the stakes you have coming out. So there will be that ultimate time where you could stake your full amount at the maximum length and you no longer have that ability to grow your T-shares. So take advantage of it. Yeah, they were talking about it earlier with Hex Lion and his beer market.
Dude, take advantage of it. I was trying so hard not to troll, dude, when I was alive with him when he was doing that. I was like, you think it's going to be a light sort of Pilsner?
a light beer market? Or are we looking more at like kind of a Pilsner or a lager kind of beer market?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I do look, this is something I need to talk about too with the Hexicans. Sometimes I look, and I get flack for this sometimes, but I see Hexicans overstaking more than their income, like too much. Like you one of the reasons why people are so emotional as well, like you have to be kind of just like, whatever, hex price goes up, I'm happy. Hex price goes down, all right, whatever. That's what you want to be, right? You want to be, if the hex price shoots up, you're like, woo! Hex price goes down, oh well, whatever.
You used to be that way before potentially encapsulated stakes came online. Now you have the option to where now maybe price does matter to you a little bit more if you want to start looking a little bit more into the bond market that Hex is about to create.
Play, man. I know it's a joke. We're just messing around, but it is possible to overstake, dude. It is possible. You could overextend yourself in your real life.
It's just like anything,
right?
Anything you could overextend yourself. Just like I said, don't take out another freaking mortgage. Don't max out your freaking credit cards. Don't be stupid, because like you said, at that point when you stretch yourself too thin and you over leverage yourself, then you start freaking out. You start stressing over simple price moves in the market because you're overextended, and you might not realize it.
Yeah, Benny Bills, I feel you on that, man. I'm telling you. Yeah. I mean, RG's right about this stuff. I mean, you go through enough of these cycles and you're like, dude, I need to make sure that everything's okay at home, man. Because like people, I know we come from the Red Pill community, but some people are married, or some people have, or fiancés or dad, or or whatever. They got multiple plates and stuff. It gets hard to spin plates when your dough's low, bro. you ain't knocking no boots if you ain't clocking low loot.
Seriously, dude. It's funny.
Yeah.
No, it's true. I mean, yeah, you got to be able to, afford your bills and, have, just like with any, like, I don't know, smart, like, management, like, have a little bit of an emergency fund for a couple months, something like that. Like, that's not a bad idea, half a year, something like that. Right. You got to, not be too degenerate.
Let me I'm going to put you guys on. I'm going to link you a video right now to Big L. This is probably one of the most big red pill songs of all time. Right here, Big L, and no ends, no skins, baby.
Big L is classic, man.
Yeah, hell yeah. Die too young, man. Die too young.
Oh, man. The best definitely do, unfortunately.
And he would make Jay-Z look bad. Like, your version of live streams were actually just like, freestyling and stuff.
Exactly, man.
Yeah. I mean, you guys want to get into encapsulated stakes a little bit?
Yeah, we can do it.
Sure,
I think it's about the only thing we haven't touched on the stream so far.
Brand's been touched all day today, bro. I mean,
he's been touched, but we haven't touched too much on Hex Bay and what's involved
Brand,
with encapsulated.
if I came on stream and you had hickeys all over your neck, dude, I'd fucking die, bro.
Wait, did he really?
Right?
No.
He's making a joke.
I was about to say, damn, Brand.
Close enough, though.
Hopefully they're from your girl. Otherwise, you might be castrated in the middle of the night. So be careful.
Oh yeah, no, we're good there. We're good. Not trying to get castrated.
She's Venezuelan, right? So you gotta be careful.
Oh yeah, dude. Those Latinas, man. I shit you not. Those ladies are crazy. You know, no joke. No
You're dating,
joke.
You're dating a Latina?
Yeah, she's Venezuelan.
Pizza, all right, bro.
Yeah. I love Hispanic women. They're probably my favorite, but they're more for fun than long term. I found out over the years. Good times though, good times. But yeah, so encapsulated hex stakes. So for you guys that don't know, obviously most of the people in the hex community know about them already. For you that don't know about hex or some of the big news that we've had recently, a contract has just been built that sits on top of Hex on layer 1, which enables you to do encapsulated stakes. So now, essentially, Hex Bay is created a bond market where you can create essentially a Quattro Cinco stake, so the longest stake that you want, or any length of stake that you want, but the optimal play is probably to do a Quattro Cinco stake, encapsulate it, and put it out to the farthest amount of time, give yourself the highest ROI, and then you actually have the ability to sell that in the future now. So they've essentially given you the ability to sell those stakes at a later date, maybe at year 1, year 2, year 3, and it gives you more positioning instead of being completely locked up. For you guys that don't know, Hex would severely penalize you if you didn't reach at least your 50% mark of your current stake. At that point, you would get back your principal, and you'd be good to go. Anything less than that, it would cut into your principal. Anything more than that, you start getting a little bit of interest on top. So Hex Bay enables you to encapsulate your stakes and essentially sell at any time. It's kind of been pretty controversial in the Hex community already, going back and forth between, is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? What's the price impact going to be? What's the impact on the interest going to be? And so we've kind of been, everyone in the community has kind of been tossing it back and forth. It hasn't gone through audit yet, so we're still waiting on that before we make our ultimate decision going through CoinFabrique. But it's interesting. It opens up a whole nother layer to Hex that we didn't have before, and might continue to help with adoption and moving bigger players into the Hex community eventually. So a lot of these big companies that are looking, they're buying into their Bitcoin bags now, but they're going to start looking into other spaces. So having essentially a bond market is going to give us an avenue into something like that, or Grayscale or Three Arrows Capital, these big hedge funds.
Yeah, it is. I talked about encapsulated stakes since the beginning of Hex
early on. Yep.
Yeah,
you did.
And I thought it was a great idea for maybe getting institutions, people to buy Hex stakes and stuff because they wanted a place they could trust. But it does take some of the game theory out. That's why I brought it up to Richard on the live streams before, and then he was just essentially saying that there is some downsides to it. And like I was bringing it up to him because I thought this was probably the only way to. This is kind of because we don't really have any problems with like quantum computing or anything like that. You know, we're not mining or anything, but this is the only type of a version of an attack essentially, right? So having it, it's dicey. It's dicey if it's not done well, if it's not done carefully.
And I think that's why a dev in the Hex community took it upon himself. Earl, or his actual name is Fabian. He's German, and he took it upon himself to make it, because he even said initially, like, just like DCC said, he's been talking about this since the beginning. It's always a possibility since Hex is decentralized, and you know you can build on top of it if you want to. And so he always knew it was a possibility as well. Was waiting for someone to do it. No one ever did it. So eventually he took it upon himself to build it, and then add features that we hope to be price positive for Hex moving forward. So for you guys that aren't as knowledgeable how it's going to work moving on, you're going to encapsulate your stake. When you go to make your stake, you're going to have a 0.3% dev fee, and then up to 4.7% is going to go into what's called their small payday fund, which is essentially going to help compensate stakers for their loss of emergency and stake penalties. Or you can self-refer yourself, and you don't end up paying 5% on making the stake. You only pay the dev fee, which would be 0.3%. Now, when you come to sell that stake at whatever time you so choose, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years out, when you go to sell that stake, the seller is going to incur the 0.3% dev fee, or they're going to incur essentially a total of 10% penalty for essentially not having strong hands, not being able to see your stake to fruition. They're going to have to pay a 10% fee. So 0.3% goes to the dev fee again. 4.85% goes to the staker class that gets distributed out, and then 4.85% gets sent to the origin address, which collects half of all end stake penalties. After that, the stake is able to be transferred to the buyer, because these contracts are held within the central entity that is HexBay, the contract that is HexBay. It's transferred over to the buyer. The buyer has to purchase that stake with Hex. So essentially, the buyer is coming in, purchases that Hex on the open market, pays 100% of whatever the seller's asking. The seller is going to take a 10% penalty. They'll get the rest of the Hex, so they'll essentially get 90% of what the buyer paid on the market. And then, assuming that the seller is looking to dump that Hex afterwards, you're looking at a roughly plus 10% price positive action towards Hex. So you continue to lock more Hex up for longer term, and then in the meantime you're getting roughly about plus 10% price positive action in the Hex.
Hey guys, I'm gonna have to jet out, but it was good being on the stream for tonight, and I'll catch you guys on probably the F and Hangout actually. So
all right,
to catch up more.
Good. Cool.
Later,
All
Brian.
right. Thanks, Brian. Have a good night.
You too, guys.
All right. So there was a question from Faceless on the Hex price and end stake chart. So
yeah,
we'll first start off with the price chart, and then we'll take a look at the end stake chart. So let me get a Uniswap vision up here.
Oh my god!
And that's the kind of thing too, like with this Hexbase stuff, you gotta be careful, because a lot of Hexicans, like, not to call you out chilling in the grave, but a lot of Hexicans have a lot of misinformation. And I mean, I had it too in the beginning, but some of the stuff we just don't have correctly. Like you can stake to any sort of stake length that you want. It doesn't have to be a Quattro or Cinco stake. So there's a lot of stuff that just has to get cleared up with everyone's knowledge on Hexbase. Again, it's new and it's not audited yet, but gotta be careful with what you say.
Yeah, my main takeaway with Hexbay. So this assumes I don't know anything as far as the auditing goes, but I guess the big thing, it goes back to what Crypto Vince was mentioning with the it kind of takes away the point of doing anything less than a 15-year stake. But I guess the thing is there's certain considerations there when you're doing the stakes. Like, for example, if somebody from the get-go does like a 15-year stake and tries to sell it, like, that's actually really stupid to do, because for one, if you try to, you'll actually get less for it, for one. Because, well, theoretically, because you haven't accrued any economic mass in that stake. What I do think it potentially leads to, as far as speculation goes, is those that just want to hold the stake, let's say long term, at a certain point, let's say 5 to 6 years in, you could start to see higher premiums for potentially these longer stakes after they've accrued economic mass from the hex accrued in terms of the interest. So that does lead to potential premiums down the road. But the other thing is, Dev Kyle, this was a video that I'm not entirely sure like when the timing was, and I think when I spoke with Motley about it, he mentioned something about value being split between things like encapsulated stakes and then the actual stakes that you do on directly with the smart contract today. But in terms of like the value flowing into Hex, I'd imagine that if you do, let's say, have a multi-trillion-dollar market, let's say in the existing CD market, then I would think the prices that Hex could achieve long term would be like stupid to the point of being like so unreal that if you did, let's say, have a split of that value, I still think naturally the price would go to much higher valuations. But it is true that the value does end up getting split in the sense where you have this pool of money that's changing hands that doesn't necessarily, it's not really a net negative necessarily like on the price, but it's a change of hands that doesn't really influence or push the prices up as much as somebody may want versus basically staking it directly. So there are certain trade-offs there. It's just if the person's intention is to buy an encapsulated stake and try to sell it right away, they're going to get totally wrecked trying that, because it's just a stupid strategy. And at the very least, like if they do that, then they'll have to pull at least initially some liquid Hex off the market. The only thing that sucks is later on, when players do enter that encapsulated market, they're not it's the whole change in hands game essentially. But I guess
it's going to go more from the power of the people to the corporations or the bigger whales.
That's like one of the drawbacks, right? Like you're essentially creating a time machine. So you give, and this is probably why I had the biggest problem with it in the beginning, is because like you're giving up a lot of the principles that Hex like kind of stood for with creating new whales and stuff like that. And essentially encapsulated stakes are going to be a time machine. You're enabling corporations, larger whales, to come in at a later date and buy T-shares that should have never been available to them just based on at their entry point and when they came in. So essentially they have this time capsule. Essentially they can go back in time and get that share rate back then. Now at that point, you guys are all going to probably be stupidly wealthy. So you might not give a fuck at that point, to be honest. But it's just to me it was a bitter pill to swallow, because I advocate and I really, what Hex does and what it rewards and the behaviors and the mental health that it really does instill, which is kind of weird to say for a freaking cryptocurrency. It really is. I mean, look at the community it's built around it. It was a tough pill for me to swallow, that essentially something always has had the ability to be created like Hex Bay, and it kind of just throws a wrench into all those core concepts and ideals. So that was tough to swallow. But at the end of the day, as much as I hate the argument, and I think it's a stupid argument of like, well, it's inevitable, someone can build it. Okay, cool, got it. But just because something's built doesn't mean the intentions are going to be good, and it doesn't mean we necessarily should build it. But at the end of the day, if we are going to build it, I'm glad it's geared towards price positive for Hex. And it appears so far, we'll still have to wait for the audit, but it appears that they have Hex's best intentions at heart. So we'll see where that takes us.
To the moon.
Yeah, definitely. And then I guess we'll pull up. Let me just do a share screen here. So we'll pull up the
list once the price.
Are we being childish maybe, because like at some point like Hex was going to get big enough that the big money was going to get in it anyway.
Yeah, that's. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean, technically no, right? Like, so if HexBay didn't exist, the way, because you got to think like the ever increasing T-share price, and again, one of the probably the most beautiful thing about Hex is like there's nothing else in the traditional finance markets. There's nothing in cryptocurrency like it. Like, it's truly something that Richard and the devs created that's never existed in any sort of financial institution. So like, that opportunity was there. If something like HexBay never came into existence, like big corporations, big money could not get in. at the rates that early adopters were able to get in, and those whales, like they would have had to purchase directly from us, and we would be the new whales in that space. So honestly, it's not really being childish. It was the foreseeable future. But again, on the same token, something like HexBay is also has the same ability to be created and be done. But up until the point that HexBay wasn't created, there was no way for big money to really come in and outposition us, the initial original adopters. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's childish. It's just nothing like this has ever existed. So it really did give that opportunity for everyone that's been in Hex since the beginning to become that whale in the ecosystem. Yeah. And you guys still will be. You still will be whales, but we're gonna share the space with big players later in the market if HexBay, and this is all contingent on HexBay gaining traction and adoption, right? It could die out just like everything else we've seen that's been built on Hex. So time is going to be the biggest factor, and
though we should look into the past. One thing, I know it's not perfect in correlation, but we do have to look at Bitcoin because it was libertarian. It was supposed to be like, you know, a form of like libertarian money. We can use this money for this and this, and then they got corporatized and fucking it's turned into a Frankenstein at this point, right?
Yeah.
So we should look at them and be careful and take what they did wrong and try to do something different over here, so that doesn't happen to us. Because I know Hex is going to be successful.
Yeah.
But we can get bastardized if we're not careful, you know.
Of course.
Yeah, and even as far as the timing goes, like if something, even as far as the traction part of it, things could sometimes take a long time before things even get traction. So things could basically seem like they're dead until basically they're not. So a good example of that is even things like DeFi today. I mean, it took 2 years really to get to that point where there started to be a large amount of value locked on even something like Ethereum. Like that took 2 years. In the bear market, the only thing that existed was MakerDAO, where Ethereum was being used as collateral to mint DAI, and it took a while to get to a point to where it is today with all the tools that exist. Like there's Hex, there's other DeFi protocols, there's a ton more in the space. So I think the nature of this market is when things happen, it's really fast, and things could basically be going. It might seem like things are not happening for a while, but usually when it does, like it's a very quick movement, even as far as like narratives, all that stuff. So yeah, I mean, as long as you got in, like if you got into Hex during this market cycle, relatively speaking, I think it's even reasonable to kind of even speculate that the price levels you're seeing today, you may not even see that during the next bear market.
The bear market.
I mean, like,
I don't think you will. I don't think there's any way that you will.
Yeah, because I mean, just look at how long this consolidation has been going on for, and generally, like this basically helps like set up a price floor somewhere. And during this time, there was a lot of wallets that got drained, and the price is still holding up. I mean, the chart to me looks fine. What I did is I just measured the amount of days the price held above the either the 100-day, which is the blue line, or the 200-day, which is the yellow line. Held it as some kind of support. So the first time it tested that line, it held up for 38 days. The second time it broke back above that line, it lasted 58 days. And then even today, if you look at the current price, this is actually the longest, 83 days. So almost 3 months now that it's held basically these moving averages that are slowly shifting up. So to me, I still basically maintain my current view that the price is slowly shifting up. And then when there is a breakout at a later point in time, I think it's going to be very fast. Like I really do think it's going to be something like this, where it's just a huge move in a 1 to 2 month time frame. And if you were out of position, you're probably not going to experience the gains when it finally does make that move. And then you have to basically go through and establish a new price floor, whatever that is. So overall, things look pretty good to me. I think the chart looks fine. I think the chart actually looks pretty good. The main it basically just looks like it's kind of in this and this was actually mentioned on a stream with Richard Hart, and then I forget who the other guy was, but there was some pretty funny trolling of ADA on that stream. But they talked about this price chart and how it basically looks like it's kind of in an ascending wedge that's slowly shifting up until you get a big move up. So all in all, it looks good. I guess other chart tools, and this is really more of a reference. Things are pretty much reset. The RSI is relatively low. The MACD is relatively low. So things can change rather quickly. It's just kind of you're just guessing as to when that may be. So that I would say that's for the price chart. If we go to Vision in terms of the staking, because the main one I'm sure people are concerned about is there's basically a whale stake that's coming out sometime this month. It maybe already has came out. We'll see on the staking ladder. But
March 15th, I think.
March 15th. Okay. So
yeah. Eyes of March. DC likes to say.
I'm actually really starting to like this ladder a lot now, because this is the last big stake. I know there's people speculating as to what this person may do. Unless they, and I'm not sure like what the details of that are. Like, I don't know if they potentially know who this person is. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. I'm just going to leave it open. Like, I don't know what this person's going to do, like with their bag. They might,
it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't really matter. Like,
no.
At the end of the day, all I really care about is basically this kind of slow ramp down into basically 2024. So I do think, because of the way this ladder is set up, I think the thoughts that Hex could perform well in a bear market because of this, I think, is very reasonable, because there's really not much supply coming out once you hit year 2024. I would basically take a look at this ladder again right around I would say actually close to the end of the year, because what we also want to see is where everybody here positions their restakes. And there's a lot of gaps here. So I would think intuitively, if they're going to hold their bag long term, and especially with the whole thing with the encapsulated stakes, that may incentivize people to just basically throw the stakes out into a 15-year stake. So you could actually start to see some of these gaps start to fill up. But we won't really know what that looks like really until the end of 2021. But for the most part, I don't imagine there being like a bunch of people. I mean, at this point, if they don't know about Hex.Vision, I mean, come on, like this has been talked about so many times now.
Hey,
so,
they're out there.
Yeah,
they're out there.
So if there's a whale watching it, just use this to your advantage. It's a very useful tool if you don't already know about it.
Everyone should be using it. But yeah, just to go back to that big stake, a lot of hexagons are talking about it, and it's news, right? But at the end of the day, it's gonna be a huge non-event. I'm telling all you guys right now. Like, even like, I wouldn't even call it worst case scenario, but say they sell. Oh my God, you know how it would be cool to see them completely just like sell into themselves on the market and just watch how quickly the Hex gets bought up. Because I know I would be sitting there just ready just to fill bags. Like, I would just be underneath it, just like, yep, sell away. Like, there's no scenario where you don't win as a Hex community. It gets restaked out, it could sell straight into the market, and you get amazing prices that we haven't gotten since the launch of Hex. Literally, even the T-share price, where initially we're like, oh my God, it's going to jump up. We didn't really understand how the Hex per T-share price actually operates. It's not necessarily the size of the stake; it's when it was staked. So, like, if you staked all the way back on, if you staked all the way back on day one, you got 20% additional as we went on throughout the year. It went from 20% all the way down to 0% on big payday. So it matters how early on you were staked. Which this stake, I believe someone did some research on it. It was done like day 100 something, so not super early on. So it probably got a little over 10% additional bonus. the only other reason that it's going to slightly increase the share price is because it also has a bonus that most stakes don't have, where it has over 150 million hex. It has the larger pays better as well. So it's probably going to see the highest ROI potentially at that date, but by only a small margin. So like you might see a 1 to 2% increase in the hex per T share price, if that. So it's
right.
gonna be a large non-event. Everyone's freaking out and thinking about it, but there's really not much that can take place where it's really gonna do anything. And once that's gone, the gloves come off and Hexicans are off to the races again.
Yeah, I kind of my take on it, at least if you're if you're planning a staking ladder, if you see these really big stakes, like, to be honest, I don't even necessarily think it, like, I'm not trying to like talk shit or anything like that, but I honestly don't even think it's worth speculating possibly know what this person's going to do unless you're the person. So there's kind of a difference where, I guess like you can think of like what it would, like what they could logically do to perhaps like preserve the amount that they hold long term. But the reality is, like, nobody knows except like the person, and the person may have like who knows, like they may not even have like a full plan yet as far as how they want to do their stakes. This is just the nature of a free market, guys. Like, this kind of stuff happens all the time. Like, some people sell and some people don't, and perhaps this person just does a restake, but we won't really know. We're just not going to know until that information is on chain, and like everything up until that point is just speculation. But that's oftentimes like where you start to see stuff like this. That's oftentimes where you do tend to have like more opportunity, because like there's like uncertainty. There's a lot of people like there's people like scared about the stake, like legitimately scared about what this person's gonna do. So
not even phased in the slightest.
Yeah. So it's like I just look at the ladder and it's like, okay, I'll revisit it like sometime at the end of 2021 and just see what the updated distribution looks like. But overall, like, I'm just looking at it from a macro scale, guys. Like this I'm looking at it from a 15-year perspective, and the staking just winds down into the really actually pretty early into this decade, and definitely the second half of the decade. There's this entire wind down on the entire staking ladder. So all in all, I'd say it looks pretty good.
Yeah, for sure. It's just there's no way it comes out. Once that stake comes out, there's nothing that it can do that really affects anything. I mean, honestly, my most ideal scenario is it just sells it to the market, which I'd be shocked if it does. And then I know I'd be equally shocked by how quickly it gets bought up, because I would be one of those there. I mean, honestly, that would probably be the most beneficial if they decided to sell into the market at that point.
Yeah.
But it's
No,
just
I have heard a rumor that it's Motley's stake and he's going to dump on us. Like, I've heard.
If that was my stake, I wouldn't even be talking to you.
Yeah, he wouldn't be on stream right now. He'd be
I wish. I wish that was my stake, bro. But there's just no scenario where it plays out where the Hexicans and the Hex community, like, you don't win. Like they're honestly probably going to restake out, retain their position, and non-event, maybe a 1 to 2% increase on T-share price, and that's it. And then we move on to the next stage. We start getting through the amount of liquid supply slowly starts to dry up every month, and after that, eventually, like LookIntoCrypto was talking about, we just really go into a period where for the next 4 to 5 years, there's not that much coming out, and who knows how Hex is going to perform in the bear market as well. Could be the #1 crypto in the bear market.
That would be so fucking justice.
How nasty would that be, man? How nasty would that be? Oh my god.
We'll all be
Crypto or Bitcoin, Ethereum, everything's just taking a dump, and then they just see Hex just skyrocketing out. Oh my god. And it could happen too. Imagine a gigantic green candle while everything else is just bathing in a bath of blood, and then And then when you find out that crypto not only is just skyrocketing, but it also earns you a 40% APY yield on top of that. Oh my god, dude! what if we overtake Bitcoin in the damn bear market? How nuts would that be? Nasty, absolutely nasty.
It doesn't count. No.
Oh, and I think Richard's already prefaced this as well, but you know how quickly we're going to hear people say, "Oh, well, market cap's not a real thing." You know how instantly that narrative's going to get thrown out there, like, "Oh, well, every pleb knows market cap doesn't count for shit." Meanwhile, that's all anyone's gone off of for the past freaking decade.
Dude, that's when we get institutional people looking at us like,
"Oh yeah,
look at this."
Oh yeah, okay. You don't think that's part of the plan? Part of Rich's plan? Like, watch what happens in the bear market. Everyone else is going to be all butthurt and sad, and just like anything when it comes to a bear market. And then Hex is going to be that freaking shining beacon in the darkness, and everyone's going to come running to it like a moth to the flame. Oh, I can't wait! I can't wait. The I told you so's are coming in a plethora.
Well,
Lamborghini Mercy. Oh,
that was one of the first. That was actually when the first really big move happened to. I wasn't even in Hex at the time. I got in basically sometime during the summer, but I do remember seeing the price chart when the whole market was just dying, like during the COVID sell-off, like. Yeah. It was just a falling knife across the market, and then it was like, oh, Hex went from 500 million and now 750 million. 24 hours later, 900 million. I was like, okay, like, maybe I need to look into this and see. And that's the thing, right? Like it stands out, it shines in periods like that, and intelligent individuals like yourself see that as an opportunity. And they realize, oh, there's something going on over here. I need to investigate it more. And once they start digging and they find out what Hex is and what it does, oh my god! Like you know it yourself. Like you realize what a huge opportunity this thing was, and you managed to secure yourself a very large and good position, even though you weren't early on as everyone else. You took that opportunity because you saw what this could be in the future. Mm-hmm. And it's because it stood out during a period where everyone else was just experiencing nothing but death and just downward price appreciation. Yeah, there is going to be a lot of definitely a lot of death in the so much. There's not going to be any for a lot of these coins now that are pumping really hard. We're not really going to know what their price floors are really until the next bear market, because it's been vertical for weeks, even months at this point. So I mean, the longer the cycle, the better, I guess. But overall, I do think we are, like, I'm still confident we're going to see a pretty big move on Hex sometime. I was speculating sometime this quarter. So we still have basically this month and next month. But I'm going to kind of let the staking ladder decide that, because that seems to have a much larger effect as to when you can get these kinds of moves. One place to look, because there are people in the Hex trading Telegram that track the largest wallets that are selling into the market. And I do know there was a lot of wallets that got emptied because that Telegram was tracking it pretty well. So if any of these large stakes that comes out is, let's say, like distributing supply, that Telegram is going to know. But then it's also it's also easier to basically buy up coins like that now, because it's like the whole thing with like as the prices get higher and higher, the more, like, it goes to the whole thing where the more evenly distributed supply is, which that's not the nature of any capitalist market generally speaking, but it doesn't take that much of like if you have a quote unquote a uniform distribution, like that sucks ass for pumping. Like it just does, because you have people you just have people taking profits. So by all means, like, I want that supply to get centralized as fuck, because I know it's just better for price discovery. That's how it always is. It's the same thing for Bitcoin. It's the same thing for Ethereum. I am pro centralized supply. Pump that shit. Like,
especially when you're an early adopter.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So, just have to be, everybody just has to be patient until it makes its move. So, that's just kind of where we're in that consolidation range right now.
And that's the name of the game, right? Like, it all just comes down to patience. Like, just remember, guys, you're in a certificate of deposit. Generally, they're boring as fuck, and Hex has got some boring or sideways action now, but you have to be patient. Like LookIntoCrypto said, you get out of position, you could get instantly left behind if you just happen to be unlucky where Hex decides to take off and you're not on the freaking rocket. Like, you just gotta be patient. It's just a matter of time. Most of our community's got strong hands.
Yeah.
If you want to take a little profit, go ahead. If it's gonna kind of satiate you a little bit, but I mean, don't give away your freaking diamond or gold at these prices. Like, it's just where Hex is going. Anything you spend now. Like, I just bought a painting from Tolarus, and I love it. It was a Hex painting, and I bought it for like 45,000 Hex, and I know I'm gonna look at that painting. I'm gonna love that painting till the day I die. But I know I'm gonna look at it one day. I'm like, oh, that's $1 million painting sitting up there. You know, like it really could get to the absolutely crazy numbers like that.
Yeah, this
every Hex you have is valuable.
Benny is right on that, and that's why, like, so you'd be surprised where you'll run into people, and just in general, whenever you're in some kind of like asset class, especially crypto, there's a lot of misconceptions when it comes to how things tend to go up in value. So, for example, the whole idea is like, if you're holding, I think basically if you're in a position where you're holding your picks for this market cycle, and just definitely not trading's extremely advisable, and just holding, you're not going to beat the guy that just holds. You're just not. Like, that's why anybody that's trading on really low time frames, like there's markets for that on like things like TradingView, but those people are fucking plebs for a lifetime. They really seriously are. And like I say, like, I'm a pleb too right now. I'm in crypto. I want to make a lot of money. I want big gains. And so far, the benefits of accumulating through the bear market, even up until this point, has been incredible. Like, I'm so thankful right now for what I have, but that took a lot of patience. Like, I saw the bear markets, I went through all the FUD, the negativity. Like, I've seen it all. And at the end of the day, the only thing that beats all of that is just time. So, you know, we're in the most explosive asset class on the planet. Like, this is just where value long term is going to go. So I have no doubt on cryptocurrencies long term. I've decided, like, even things like stocks, like, they're just not going to outperform crypto markets ever during expansion phases. Just no chance whatsoever. So just basically play, have a long-term plan. But I still do advise, you know, if the crypto market hits like a 5 trillion market cap and you're holding Ethereum, take fucking profits on, like, de-risk some of that, and then just have USD and have basically cash ready for the next, like, whatever the next bear market is, or invest in something like real estate. Like, have a little bit of I'm not necessarily so big on the whole diversity thing where you have like 30 different stocks, like real estate, 40 different coins. Like, I'm like, all right, just pick. I have like five different plays.
Be smart with your diversification.
Just be smart with the diversification, because most of the diversification is pretty. It's pretty. Yeah, it's even, a lot of people tend to spread themselves out way too much. So it's like they don't know really anything about the market, so they'll just basically pick like 20 different things, and then most of them will perform like shit compared to like something like crypto or whatever. So diversification isn't necessarily always like the best thing. I think just having a couple solid plays is enough, especially in something like crypto. I think it's going to be like that for the next few cycles. So at that point, just pick the best coins in the market. Like, things like Ethereum is obviously going to do well too. just hold on to those long term, because Ethereum is going to be worth a retarded amount of money in something like 20 years from now. It's just there's so much value locked in this network, and like 15 years from now, like I can't even fathom what kind of value some of those stakes are going to be 15 years from now, because I really don't think we can comprehend the amount of economic mass that can exist within those stakes. And you could even actually start to see that sometime later this decade. So just be patient with
California cash.
Yeah.
That's the kind of cash I'll have. Baja California is going to be mine. Watch.
Mm-hmm.
Your most valuable asset is your time, and what cryptocurrency best monetizes your time? Hex. It's that simple. That simple. Gonna do awesome. All right. You wanna? What else you got?
I think we basically covered.
We covered a lot.
Yeah, we pretty much covered everything. We covered Ethereum, DeFi, encapsulated sticks on Hex. I think the only thing we haven't really covered, well, we kind of did. We kind of said it with the whole total 2 market cap, which is everything excluding Bitcoin. So, yeah, that's really the only chart to me that matters, is the total 2 market cap. I don't really care so much about individual price charts anymore, even so much like Ethereum. I just look at the total 2, and I just have my guesstimates as to where I think things are going to peak this cycle before entering the next bear market. So that's the only thing I'm paying attention to. And then I think the last thing we didn't really talk too much is I know we did. We talked about Grayscale and Bitwise, like so. Yeah, a little bit. We kind of just suggested there's still plenty of economic mass to enter the market, because Bitwise recently launched a investor fund for DeFi, mostly for accredited investors right now. So I don't think the amount of economic mass is necessarily, or at least from the big players, I don't think it's necessarily done yet. I think we're just kind of in more of a cool down phase right now, but I do think that will eventually pick back up. And there's definitely going to be speculation on DeFi in this market, most definitely. DeFi is going to have a very bright future this cycle. And I think that's really about it. I think that pretty much closes this. That pretty much finishes the stream today. And again, check out DC's Twitter. You're muted right now.
I think you might have been talking to someone else. Stream.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think were you about to say something, because you mentioned you
don't get us pulled down. No, he's got music playing.
Okay. All right. Just laugh. All right. Well, yeah, you guys know that. Like we definitely talked about it earlier. Follow Motley Investor. If it's anybody new watching the stream, I guess we'll start off. Where can they find you guys? What's the best place?
So Motley Investor for everything: Twitter, YouTube, Telegram. Pretty much the 3 main platforms, I guess Twitch too, but mainly YouTube, Telegram, Twitter, all that.
Yeah.
And then
you can follow me at DollarCostCrypto everywhere on the interwebs, podcast, YouTube, Twitter. And don't forget, you guys have exactly 2 hours left to get into the crypto. Yeah, right on cue.
Good job, Charlie. Right on cue. Right on the finish of the stream.
Yeah, 2 hours left. 2 hours left to change your financial future. Jump into the course, you guys. Get a group of men that are going to, help you stay in touch with this crypto world. And then, Benny Bills, man, you want to know more about SNX, man? Come join the course, man. Like I'm telling you, if you want to learn all those altcoin questions. But if you want to learn about Hex, this is the stream right here.
Yep,
sounds good. But yeah, definitely. And I'll basically finish off saying, definitely check out. Again, if you're not familiar with even just how far these cycles can go, even that alone, it makes the course worth it. Because at the end of the day, like, this is actually probably the only, like, if you look at all the channels across crypto, Charlie and DC they're one of the few that you can actually follow through the entire market cycle. That doesn't exist really anywhere where else. Like there's very few really good channels to follow. That's definitely a great one. And there's just a lot of good advice in there that expands to just a lot of parts of crypto and investing in general. And plus, it's also a great network. There's actually a lot of great people I met even through Charlie and DC's network. So all that stuff basically lasts a lifetime. So definitely thankful for that opportunity. And yeah, check out the course, and that'll finish off the stream, and we'll see you guys at the next one.
Next one. Yep. Later, guys.